Okay, let's get started.
Ghosts are real. That much I know.
Hey Horvix, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. If this is the first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get a notification every single time that I post a video, and I post every single week. I am so happy to be back. In case that you're wondering why I took so long in posting this review, is because I was on a 3 weeks trip with my family. I went to Europe and I even got the chance to watch Saw 10 in Spain. It was a very fun experience. It was my first time going to a cinema in another country. So I saw the film back on September 30, meaning that I didn't saw any spoilers. So I was at least good in that part. But I had to wait until this week that I returned home for me to sit down and do my review. As always, all my reviews are with spoilers. If you don't want them, just to see if this was worth it or not, in the description box down below, there you're going to find my spoiler-free review, because I like to give you guys the two options. And saying all that in the disclaimer, let's get into the video. Saw 10 follows hoping for a miraculous cure. John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure, only to discover that the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer used deranged and ingenious traps to turn the tables on the con artists. And to give a brief summary of the story, the film is going to open with John Kramer receiving his diagnosis. He is attending a support group and he is even advised by his doctor to start with his will. And when he is about to sign it, he sees one of the members of the support group, but he looks better, he looks healthy, and they engage in a conversation. And this guy says to John that is all thanks to an experimental procedure, and he even shows the scar of the surgery and he gives him the website. So John goes into his computer, he starts searching, and he sends a message. And then on the middle of the night, he gets a call that is from a doctor, and she starts telling him about her father, that is the one that started all this, and that she is in Mexico and that she can do the procedure. And about a week from that moment, he travels to Mexico. We get the introduction to all the medical team and also survivors, thanks to the doctor that now they are working with her. We see the procedure, we see everything. And then we see John in recovery, and he is even drawing some traps, and he kind of stops because we can see that he has changed a little bit after this. He has hope. And when he decides to bring some gift as saying thanks to this medical team, when he arrives to the place, is completely abandoned. There's no one there. He found videotapes that are what we saw that they were supposed to be the procedure. And this is when he realizes that it was all a scam. He takes out his bandages and he realizes that he has no scar. That's basically the first half of the film, is solely focusing in John's journey from the diagnosis to the surgery and when he realizes that it's a scam. And the other part is what we came to see, that is all the gore and the blood. We see how someone is kidnapping all the members of the medical team. We see what they actually do in real life. They are all being kidnapped by someone using a very familiar pig mask. Of course, Amanda Young is back and she is helping John to do this. Then we see all of them, they are together on the same place that the surgery took place. And this is when the game is going to happen. The first ones, they do not survive the game, but the third one to do it, she does. But this is when a twist comes in, and is that one of the guys that was a survivor of the doctor that was on the same day that John was arriving to get the surgery, he arrives to the place claiming that he wants to kill the doctor because he says that it was also a scam to him what they did. But it's revealed that he's actually her boyfriend and he is there to help her. And John is telling her, hey, at least let's take her to the hospital, because the girl, she survives, but she's about to die because, of course, we know how they end with these traps. She kills her. I hated this woman with all my heart. And she puts John into what was supposed to be her trap, and also a little kid that is on the outside that was also on the site when John arrives, but he's innocent. He didn't knew anything. He is an innocent child, and that's what's even worse in this situation. John is saying to her, don't do this, he is innocent. Like, if there's something about this character, is that he does not mess with innocent people. If he chose you, it's because you're guilty of something. We see how they are struggling with the strap, and is two of them, they are laying on the floor, and we see that blood is coming right through them, and they need to pull. But if I pull, then the blood is coming for you, and vice versa. And we see how John is telling the kid, do not pull, let me do this. So it's basically John making the sacrifice. And while they are still struggling and Amanda is chained to another one of the traps, we have the doctor and her boyfriend looking for all the money that she took from all the people that she has scammed. But when they do that, a new trap appears, and this is when the soundtrack appears very loudly and the plot twist is revealed. Essentially, John knew all along who he was, so he knew that he was going to eventually arrive to the place because they tricked him. And they knew that she was going to try to take the money. The kid already knew what was going to happen, so it was all a plan to trap her with him into the office. A toxic gas was going to be released, and only one of them could survive because it was a hole in the wall and they needed to stalk his head. They knew that she was going to kill him, and she did. She kills her boyfriend and she stalks her head out, and she kind of survives, but she ends up trapped because she has no way out. And the film basically ends with Amanda, John, and the little kid leaving the place, and John had the real money on other side of the place, and he gives the money to the kid. Like, he does not keep the money, he gives it to the kid, and the three of them leaves, and that's how the film ends. But we have a post-credit scene. This is something that I kind of saw coming, but I was still very excited. And we see that the guy from the support group, he was also part of the scam. And now who we have in this film? We have Detective Hoffman. His voice was a feature in the trailer. It was a theory. I even mentioned it. Why the hell we have his voice in the trailer, but he's nowhere to be found? But he does appear because he is the one that helps John to find all the people, and Amanda is the one that is kidnapping them. And he appears for a brief moment because John is about to make this guy pay too with his game. We do not see it, what is going to happen to him, but we can assume that he died. And this is how the film concludes. Now, getting into my review first, my first reaction. If you saw my trailer reaction, you know how excited I was for this film. I was very excited. I was so sad that I was going to miss it, but thankfully I was able to find a movie theater that was going to be presenting the film before I leave on a cruise, because I arrived to Spain. I was going to be there for a week, and then on Sunday I was leaving on a cruise. There was no way for me to watch the film while I was on a cruise, so my only chance was Spain. So I arrived to Barcelona, and thankfully I found a movie theater. It was a very cool experience, and since my first language is Spanish, I didn't have a problem. I watched the film on September 30, and I have been waiting for me to sit down and talk about it. I loved the film. I was so excited. It fulfilled all my expectations. They were kind of high, but it fulfilled them. I truly liked this film. I was very happy to see that not only the critics but also the audience was liking this film. Until now, I haven't seen someone saying that they did not like it. I was very surprised with Tobin Bell's performance, and I want to start with that. He, as John Kramer, he has always been good. I cannot see another actor as John Kramer, but here it was brutal. We see his switch and his emotions. He is bringing the deeper and emotional and even human side of this character. In my opinion, Jigsaw is a villain that you can hate. I do not hate him. We have villains that we hate with all of our heart, and they have no motive into the things that they do. But in the case of Jigsaw, he has a philosophy. He does these things with a purpose and a real reason, and with a valid reason for him. And here we see how he's being diagnosed, how he has no hope, into surviving, but then we see the scam. And when we have that scene of the reveal of the scam, although we already knew, like this wasn't a plot twist, the way that they made it, between the score that is always amazing and it's perfect for every single moment into the film, but it's also Tobin Bell. We can see how hurt he is. We see the anger. And there's even a moment during the trap that he tells to the doctor and to all of them that they take advantage of people, because the only thing that those people have left is hope, and they take it. Honestly, this film brought the missing piece into this puzzle, ironically, that is this franchise. And it's that emotional side. Because throughout the franchise, we see pieces of John Kramer's life. Even after he dies on Saw 3, we have him in flashbacks. And we can construct his past and his life. But it's never a very detailed look. We have pieces that if you watch all the films together, then you're going to get it. But here, we are focusing solely on him. This is a character study at the end of the day, but I truly like it. Honestly, it's what this franchise deserved, because I feel that this franchise is very good, don't get me wrong, but it was lacking a little bit of soul. It was all about the blood, focusing a lot in the traps that, of course, at the end of the day are the main attraction of it, and that's why people like them. But here they prove that you can do a film that is both emotional and deep, but also gory and brutal and violent. Like, you can do both, and here is a great example. Seeing Amanda back was cherry on top here. I like her a lot as a character. I was very sad when she died. Also on Saw 3. When it comes to the doctor, she is the real villain here. She is a character that you hate so much. Like I said, for me, John Kramer is a villain that you can hate, but her, she deserved it. She deserved everything that she got. Because honestly, something that I did notice is that he set her up to die no matter what. Because all the other traps and all the games, you can't survive. You can't. Of course, not all of them did, but the girl did. But she was killed by the doctor. But if not, she would have survived. But the doctor, when I really thought about it, there was no way. She ends trapped into the room. It doesn't matter that she has her head stuck out of a hole and she's not breathing the toxic fog. She is stuck there. She's going to die one way or another. And honestly, I am happy because she does deserve it. So I do not blame John for setting her up to die. One way or another, she was going to die. And I do not care if he broke his own rule. I don't really care because she does deserve it. As for the rest of the team, they do deserve it. Honestly, they deserve it. Everything that happened to them, because it's very sad, especially when he is about to bring the gifts, because we see when he is potting the stuff and he's so happy and he's so grateful because they saved his life, for him to find that it was all scam. When it comes to the plot, I'm not gonna lie, I found it a little bit predictable, but in my opinion, it was intelligent and creative enough to make a good film and very interesting. Because sometimes when films turn predictable, you get bored because you kind of know what is going to happen. But here, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that we know what is the future of these characters. That we know that they are not going to die and that they are not in danger here. Because they have several films yet. But still, the way that they bring the tension, like when we have John in the trap with the kid, I was like very, very scared, but at the same time, it's like, Amanda, relax. You know that he's not going to die. You know that nothing bad is going to happen to him, but still, it's a very tense moment. The score, like I said, never misses. The score is always perfect. And of course, the gore, the traps, the blood, simply perfect. When it comes to the rest of the performances, I think that all the cast did a pretty good job. I will not complain about any of them. But when it comes for me to rank this film into the franchise, is very high. At least for me, this one is a top 3. I need to sit down and watch all the franchise to rearrange my ranking because I know for sure that my opinion has changed a little bit, but this one is at least a top 3. This one is as good as the first one, and looking at it from the perspective that this one will be in chronological order, the one that you'll be watching next after the first one, it's an amazing double feature. Watching Saw and then watching Saw 10 is amazing because they are both equally good. And that's saying a lot because for me, the first one, it's masterpieces, my favorite one next to Saw 3, and now this one is, in my opinion, that good for me. And when it comes to the rating, definitely for me, this one is a 4.5. My original rating was a 4, but when I really sat down and thought about it, this one is a 4.5. It's, in my opinion, one of the best ones of the franchise and one of the best horror films of this year. For me, it is. I don't know how everyone else's opinions will be in that, but for me, this one is one of the best ones of the year. Of course, my ranking of the top 10 of this year is going to be very different from the one that I did on June, since we have a lot of things that have been coming ever since. But this one most likely is going to be in that top 10 because it's amazing. So for me, like I said, this one is a 4.5 out of 5, is a 9 out of 10. And if you haven't watched it yet, run and do it because it's very, very good. You're not going to regret it. But well, I think that this is all. Thank you so much for watching. I am so glad to be back. The upcoming reviews are going to be The Exorcist Believer. I have Totally Killer that I will not be doing the video, but I will be just putting it on my website. The Fall of the House of Usher, When Evil Lurks, and also we have Five Nights at Freddy's, that one is coming at the end of the month, and probably one or two things more, but I haven't decided yet. But well, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below what you thought about this film. Did you like it? You didn't? If you didn't, I really need to know why, because I cannot see someone not liking this film. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.
Ghosts are real. That much I know.